Here's what's on my wish list for the work from home era. Hi there, everyone. I'm Jeff, and welcome to Plain English lesson number 361. JR is the producer, and he has uploaded the full and complete lesson to plainenglish.com/361. Coming up today, we're now in month 13 of our work from home arrangement, and that has been more than enough time to tell what technology works for this new era and what technology doesn't. So today's lesson is my wish list. Here are all the things I want companies to produce to make my work at home life easier. Now, a few guidelines. First, everything on this list is technically possible today. I'm not asking for anything that's impossible. Second, some of this stuff does exist in some form, but it's not really mainstream in video calling yet. So I made my list. You can think about what your list would be as you listen. The expression is filter out. And during the expression section, I'll tell you about a funny job I had as a teenager. JR has a song of the week too, so let's get going. More than a year into the great worldwide work-from-home experiment, we all have our essential gear and strategies. For me, I can't live without my second monitor, my wireless mouse and keyboard, and my speakerphone. Your essential gear might be different. But today's lesson is about my wish list of things that are not yet on the market. However, they should be possible. So this is my call to the product designers and developers of work-from-home tools. The first thing on the list is a camera built into the screen. Video calls can be awkward without the sensation that two people are looking at each other. But the laptop designs put the camera on top of the screen, or in one unfortunate decision by Dell a few years ago, below the screen and angled up. That means that either way, participants rarely look into the camera, they're always looking slightly below it. If a camera is behind the screen, then we'd be able to look directly into the camera and have something closer to real eye contact with our coworkers. That brings me to the second thing on the list, and that is an auto-panning camera. To pan is to move the camera left and right, up and down. Most laptop cameras simply show what's directly in front of them, and that means that we, as laptop users, are centered in the frame only if we're sitting directly facing the camera, not moving for the entire duration of the meeting. That's part of the reason why Zoom calls are so tiring. Because the camera is fixed in one location, you don't have the flexibility to move your body at all when on a video call. But a camera that naturally pans left and right would allow you to move around a little in your workspace without being off-center. Think about it. You can lean back in your chair, stand up, scoot your chair forward or back, turn your body in one direction, and the camera would follow you so that you're always in the frame. This wouldn't necessarily require a lot of moving parts. A wide-angle lens behind the screen could be adjusted by software to find you and center you in the image. Let's take it a step further. Video call software lets you pick the camera you want to use, but if you have two cameras, the software should automatically find you in the camera that shows your face the best, and this would give you even more flexibility to move around. On video calls, I use my laptop and an external monitor. But if I'm looking at the external monitor, I'm turning the side of my face to the camera and looking off to the side. Not a great angle. If I had a second camera on my other monitor, the software should follow my face to where I'm looking. Are you at your computer right now? If so, look down at your keyboard. What buttons do you see? I'm sure you see all the standard keys, but my keyboard has some custom media buttons. Volume up, volume down, play, pause, fast forward, keys like that. My wireless keyboard even has a dedicated eject button that tells you how old the keyboard is. But here's what's on my wish list for future keyboards. I want hotkeys to mute and unmute, turn on and off video, and to answer and leave a video call or meeting. Yes, I know there are keyboard shortcuts for these actions in both Microsoft Teams and Zoom, but it's not the same. One of the difficulties in online meetings is not knowing when it's your turn to talk. People taking just a second or two to unmute themselves with their mouse or keyboard shortcuts, it interrupts the flow of the conversation. I think our keyboards need to help us find that mute-unmute button faster. If it saves half a second, it could really improve the quality of our conversations. I was a little under the weather last week, and I found myself sneezing on video calls. Not a good look. I managed to hit that video off button with my mouse a few times, but I missed it once too. I'd love a hotkey on my keyboard to quickly turn on and off the video. It's a small thing, but they could put it right where the eject button is now, since none of my computers has an external disk drive. The next thing on my wish list is a software innovation. One of the things that annoys me on video calls is the sound of other people typing, clicking a mouse, and using the mouse's scroll wheel. But it's also not ideal to constantly mute and unmute if you're typing notes during a call. So here's what we need. The meeting platforms should filter out the noise of keystrokes and mouse clicks so that we don't need to use the mute button. This should be easy. With artificial intelligence and advancements in sound processing, Microsoft and Zoom should be able to train their software to identify the frequencies of these sounds and filter them out automatically, or let a meeting organizer toggle the filters so the sound is best for their meetings. So those are my big items. A couple small ones. We need better cameras. We know that. Most of us don't have ideal light in our houses, but that's not our fault. Cell phone cameras are great in low light. It's time for our laptop cameras to catch up. Likewise, the microphone and speakers. I love my external speakerphone, but it shouldn't be necessary. Our phones are much smaller and they have better sound and microphones than my laptop. I miss being able to draw with my hand. Some meeting platforms have a whiteboard feature where you can draw with your mouse, but that's no substitute for drawing with a pen. Somehow we need to get that ability to write and draw online. I just don't know the right way. I was about to veer into my wish list for voice commands in Windows, but then I stopped myself. This lesson was about my work from home tech wish list, not my overall wishes and desires for computer usage in general. That would just make this lesson way too long. I think the cameras are going to get better, but we're going to have to wait a little for the product cycles to catch up. Most of us are working with laptops we bought or our companies bought pre-pandemic. Even new computers that were manufactured in the last few months were designed before the pandemic. I'd expect a new cycle of laptops with upgraded cameras to come later in 2021 or early 2022. Today's expression is to filter out. When you filter something out, you separate the things you don't want so that you are left with the things you do want. When we use filter out, we're talking about the stuff we want to exclude. This is a phrasal verb, filter out, and the object of the phrasal verb is the thing you want to exclude. Do you remember what I want to filter out? Or rather, what I want the audio software in Zoom and Microsoft Teams to filter out? I want it to filter out the sound of people typing on a keyboard or clicking on a mouse. That is just so annoying to try to speak on a call and all you hear is people's fingers clicking and clacking on a keyboard. I think the software should filter that sound out automatically. The software should be able to identify the sound of a keyboard or a mouse, and the software should automatically silence that noise. The software should filter that noise out. It should exclude that noise from the sound that comes out of your speakers. JR processes the audio from this very program, and he filters out sounds at low volumes. It's called a noise gate. If there are any low volume sounds in the recording while I'm not talking, those sounds get filtered out. You don't hear them. We exclude those so that what's left is what's important. The sound of my own voice is obviously the most important thing here, right? We need to filter out the distractions and focus on what's important. That's a very common thing to say. We need to filter out the distractions and focus on what's important. In so many cases, you need to analyze the situation, and there's important information available, and there's unimportant information available. You can't make a decision if your thinking is clouded by all of the unimportant things, so you need to filter out the distractions and concentrate on what's important. Exclude those things that don't matter, and you're left with the things that do matter. Have you ever had to hire someone? You might notice that you get lots of applications from people who are not even remotely qualified for the job. Sometimes they just send a resume blindly and don't even customize the cover letter. Your first step is to filter those people out. You need to filter out the people who are not qualified, and then you can concentrate on making your choice from among the people who are qualified. You filter out the bad candidates so that you're left with only the good ones. This is funny. I worked at a mail order company as a teenager. It was a warehouse in the back and an office in the front. I worked in both parts. When I was working in the office, my job was to open the mail for mail-in contests. So back then, before the internet, companies would run contests by mail. It was a way to build excitement and loyalty around a brand. So one time, a company ran a contest that said, if you mail in a joke that's under 50 words, we'll pick the best jokes and send the winners a prize. And just for sending in a joke, we'll send you back a coupon or a discount or something. So my job, I was 16, my job was to open the mail and filter out the jokes that didn't comply with the contest rules. There were really only two rules. The jokes had to be 50 words or fewer, and they couldn't be lewd. Lewd is like inappropriate. Jokes about, say, bodily functions or jokes of a sexual nature. It was my job to filter those out. It was a big responsibility. I had to read every joke, count the words, and determine if the joke was lewd or not, and I got paid for this. Now, the funny thing is, I was only 16, so at that point in my life, let's just say I didn't have an appreciation for the full range of ways that a joke could be lewd. There were lots of lewd jokes that I just didn't understand. I didn't know that they were lewd. So as hard as I tried to filter out the inappropriate jokes, a few bad ones still slipped by. Now it's time for JR's Song of the Week. It's called Hugging You by Tom Rosenthal featuring Billy Martin. And listen to the acoustic version. That's the one JR has selected for today. This is a duet. The two, Tom Rosenthal and Billy Martin, alternate and sing together. The video is interesting. It shows pairs of people who all start hugging. They're not always romantic partners. Some clearly are, but others are clearly just friends. And it almost looks like people are purposely standing 6 feet apart, social distancing, before embracing. But the video came out in 2018. Hugging You by Tom Rosenthal featuring Billy Martin, the acoustic version, is JR's Song of the Week, and check out the video on YouTube. What a job. I can't believe I got paid to read jokes in a contest. I wasn't the judge. That was far above my pay grade. And now it's bringing back memories. So I would open these jokes in the afternoon after school, and it was weeks on end. These jokes would come pouring in from all around the country, and people would send multiple entries, so I started to recognize their handwriting. And one guy must have misinterpreted the rules. The rules said the jokes had to be 50 words or fewer. But all his jokes were precisely 50 words. And that meant I had to count every single word. You know, if a joke came in and if it was 12 words, I didn't have to count every word. It was obvious. Likewise, if someone wrote a book, I could just filter that out easily. But if it was ever close, I had to count every single word. And this guy was always 50 words exactly. I don't know how he did it or where he found the time. Oh my goodness. Well, I think we have a new topic for an upcoming live call with Plain English Plus members. You know, a couple times a month we get together to have that live video call in English, and we talk about a recent lesson or something else going on. But I think we need to have a call talking about our first jobs as teenagers. I think that would be fun. So you're a Plain English Plus member, so watch your email and watch your calendar or watch the dashboard section for this topic whenever we get around to scheduling it. So I'd love to see you on a live call if you haven't joined us yet. But in the meantime, thanks for being a Plus member. It's so nice to have you with us, and we will be right back here on Monday. See you soon.